Hello, everyone, and welcome to season 2 of What's the Tea with Gen X, Y, and Z. We are 3 generations, 3 perspectives, 1 cup of truth. So get ready for a refreshing take on hot button topics because, again, we're going to be brewing up a steaming hot take on today's most pressing issues where we're going to dish on everything from social justice to pop culture with humor, honesty, and maybe just a little bit of healthy debate. We're going to sip the tea, spill the honest truth, and find common ground across the generational gap. This show is informative, it's insightful, and guaranteed to stir the pot. So, I am Dr. Melissa, and I am representing the exciting X Factor.
And what's up, y'all? I am Amber, holding it down for us millennials.
And I ain't do this in a while. And I am Zion, keeping it real for Generation Z. That sounds good. Say it again, y'all.
I know. We have missed y'all. And as you can see, we have been busy. Things look a little different, right? Right. We're in a new studio, and so we have been taking the time that we've been away from you guys to really ramp up and to really hit the ground running with this new season. Yep. Let me tell you though, it has completely warmed my heart. I've had so many people reach out and it's like, hey, where are you? And so, we've been excited to take this time so that we can reset and bring you all of the good tea, the hot steaming tea for season 2. So today, what we're going to talk about, it was maybe a couple months ago. Somebody had sent me I don't know if it was an IG or TikTok. Y'all know I'm X. I don't know. Somebody sent a funny video, and it was an influencer, a content creator who had done like a skit as the dad across the generations, right? Mm-hmm. So he did like the dad, first he started with a Z dad, right? And I'm just going to set the stage for y'all a little bit. So the Z dad, teenage kid, was disrespectful. The Z dad is kind of like, yo, hey, that's not the vibe we're going to do. And, hey, don't make me take away your YouTube password.
So much like a Z.
Okay, right.
That's stereotypical, Amber. Come on, we just started this new season. Here we go, y'all.
Gotta be a little shady.
The shady's it's got to start. Then the same person, he did a skit of the dad from the Millennial or Y generation. Same kid being sort of disrespectful, and the Y generation was basically like, yo, you're not about that life. You know what I'm saying? And da. But, just sort of, talk to the kid, got him straight and all of that. But that was that. And then he came back as the ex-dad. Same kid being disrespectful. And the ex-dad sort of like took off his jacket, walked out of the room. But when he came back, he had like a belt. And he he was like flying in the air. But y'all felt was a bit severe. Okay. It was like, but that is the premise of our show today. Yep. We're going to be talking about parenting styles across the generation. And does it differ? How does it differ? Let's ditch on that.
Ooh.
So. Right. Well, I'll go ahead and start us off and kind of just to give y'all some insight on what are we talking about when we talk about parenting styles. So the 4 primary parenting styles is an authoritative approach, which is kind of like a mixture between a permissive approach versus a real strict, like rigid mentality. You have the permissive approach, which is like, you can do what you want. That's fine. It's a very hands-off approach in regard to discipline and I guess just any other values that parent may bestow on their children. You have the uninvolved approach, which is completely like uninvolved. I mean, it speaks for itself. And then you have the authoritarian, which is not to be confused with authoritative, which is a mixture between permissive, which grants a little more freedom, and the authoritative, which is kind of a little strict. Authoritarian is like kind of like is like you're a tyrant. Like that's that dictatorship where it's like no room for negotiation at all. So, we'll kind of get into that and then all the other, fun little subsets.
Lord, I feel like I need a degree after that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm over here like, I didn't even know all of those existed.
Me either.
Now I heard of authoritative, of course, but authoritative, what is it?
Authoritarian.
I can't even get it right. Never heard of it.
That's just like real. That's like real strict. It's like almost like, what's the word for, like, tyrannical? Like approach to like parenting, where it's like no negotiation at all.
I'm sitting here thinking,
like
I have
military.
I have 4 kids, and I'm thinking
that's a good example. Exactly.
I didn't know about the different types.
Yeah, it makes you think, like, which one am I? I don't know.
But like
I don't think
I
fit any of them.
There's a lot of subsets though, so it's not like you're not going to hit like one right on the nail. There's going to be a lot of like different like variations.
You could pick from some of them. Because I'm not saying that I don't have some.
Lord, they went deep, y'all.
Oh
my
God! You
God!
can qualities from like all of them. So hopefully not uninvolved, but yeah.
Oh no, not uninvolved. But I'm like, I can nibble at some of them, but I can't just say I'm just that one.
Right, exactly.
And this is the challenge with sitting here as the Xer at the table. I really wasn't thinking this deep about it, y'all. I wasn't thinking from the research perspective. I wasn't thinking we were going to like name the different types and all that. I just showed up to just talk about parenting because to be honest with you, I'm thinking, I've done it 4 times, so I can certainly talk about it. Right? That's the difference when you have Zers and Yers at the table, because they like to be very thorough. He said,
and we like to change it up some. We don't like to keep
it old
school.
The psychological approach to it,
And they like to keep it old school. We got to change it up some.
So, and for some of my exes, you might be sitting there thinking, what? That's okay. We're going to rock with them, and we're going to delve in this. And then at the end, by the end of the show, as promised, we're going to find common ground. Yeah. Okay, so since I am obviously the wise voice at the table when it comes to parenting, because I've done it so many times and done it, I would say very well. Amber, we'll just start with you.
No, Spy, you did an amazing
job.
Zion
set the foundation, so now you go.
Yes. Now I don't have any statistical data. I'm just gonna let you know my approach to parenting and how it has definitely changed. So as you guys know from the previous season, I told you guys I was raised by a baby boomer. So how she taught me certain things, and just looking at her parenting styles and how she coached me up on different things, it was some things I said I was not going to do when I was a parent. But when I did become a parent, some of the things that she did, it made me realize why she did it. And it made me appreciate her a little bit more. Like, I'm telling you, every time I see her, sometimes I'm just like, Mommy, I'm so sorry. I don't know if I did this, but I'm so sorry. It gives you a different appreciation for your parent, for sure. Yeah. But the parenting styles have definitely changed. Like for her, I would say she was more authoritative, but it was something she kind of let me navigate on my own, to let me understand what it was I was doing, so I could have my own understanding of it. Because sometimes you can tell a child something, and sometimes it's like, okay, I got to let them navigate that so they can really understand what is happening there. Right. And for me, I know it changed my parenting style, because I'm like, well, I'm more of a, they'll be okay, and try to, pasteurize it a little bit and not try to be so mean. Because, they say you got to beat your child in order for them to learn some stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't feel like you need to crack the whip out.
Wait. Who is they? That's the real question.
Well, some of the baby boomers,
absolutely.
In previous, times, that was, you got to get your own whip off the tree. What is it? It's the switch. The switch. There you go. Switch. So I was like, I want to have a hands-off approach. But sometimes it don't work in my favor. But, that's just me navigating parental waters at this given moment.
And how old are your children?
My children are 4 and 2. Beautiful girls.
Yes.
They're toddlers, so they can't even, it ain't like I got teenagers where,
I was sitting here even as she was talking, and I was thinking, the beginning of a journey.
Yes.
But I will say, of course, with me being raised by a boomer as well, but being an Xer.
Yeah.
with my own children, and I have 4. They range in ages from 32 to 17. I'm tired, y'all. I'm very tired. Okay.
It's a wide range.
That's a wide range. I will say.
But you did a great job.
Hey,
excellent job.
Yeah, so,
Might I add.
but here's what I'm going to say. The parenting styles, I think, has definitely changed. For instance, just with looking at that skit, it was so funny to me because, of course, I resonated more with the Xer. Now, don't get it wrong. Now, I don't believe flying in the air with the belt, y'all.
That was wild.
Don't take it that way. But I would say a proverbial belt. I'm not saying that's necessarily literal, but having back talk. For me growing up, well, I wouldn't be here. Amen. So I'm here now, and you see me, and we're able to have this dialogue because I learned very, very early on that having that kind of discourse with my mom would not lead to longevity of life.
Right.
Okay. So it just wasn't tolerated, right?
Yeah.
Myself as a parent, there's a juxtaposition with Xers. So we came from the very authoritative background where children were seen and not heard.
Correct.
You want your opinion, I'll give you your opinion.
Right.
What are we going to eat today? Whatever I put on the table is what we're going to eat today. So coming from that, I think as Xers, we had the residue of that. So really not a lot of tolerance as far as being uninvolved and with a whole lot of what I see now where kids fully express themselves in ways that to me doesn't seem the most respectful. But we were also so jaded by the overly disciplined, rigid ways of our parents that we became helicopter parents. So for me, myself, it was really one of those things of I definitely expected my children to be respectful and all of that. But I also wanted to have that balance of tell me how you feel. Yeah. Your feelings matter. What's important to you? Let's have a conversation about it. So there was the juxtaposition of that and then being overly involved. Yeah, definitely. Listen, I used to say all the time, I hope, Oprah's gone now, so good. Because I would say, I had this feeling that one day my kids would be on Oprah talking about me. And it would be because when I tell you I was that overly involved parent, I want to know everything. When I say how is your day, I really want, it's not rhetorical. I want to have a whole conversation. If you want to go to somebody's house, well, who's there? And it could be broad daylight. I'm like, well, who lives there? And let me call them. And this was even as they were teenagers. So, I think as an Xer, we try to navigate between being so authoritative and children are seen and not heard to saying, hey, I want to, I don't know, in some cases, maybe even be your friend because we didn't feel like our parents, there was no friendship. It was very clear who was the parent.
Right.
So.
Right. It was authority figure.
I slipped up and called my dad my friend. He was like, I'm not your friend. I'm your dad. I was like, but we got a good relationship. Yeah. You can't say that to your parents.
Not friends. So Zion, what about you? As an Xer at the table, and I guess this will all be theoretical for you at this point?
Yeah, and I was going to mention that, so let me let the audience know now. I just want y'all to know, I can't say this from a personal experience. I'm not a parent. I'm far from it, y'all. I'm going to just go off what I've seen, and I'm going to rely on my good old friend Google. I did have a quick question. You said now that Oprah's gone.
Yeah.
What you mean by that?
Well, Oprah had the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Okay.
No, oh my goodness, no.
Okay.
I was about to say, what happened to Oprah?
I thought I missed out. Okay, I was like, Oprah. I'm like, yeah, Oprah gone. I'm like, huh?
Oprah used to have a regular weekly show that she doesn't have anymore. I keep forgetting. Phil Donahue, Jenny Jones.
Yeah. I just had to make sure.
Y'all don't know him.
I remember Oprah.
I know Oprah had a show. That's all I know.
I thought it was still running.
That's all I know. She had a show.
The show not running anymore?
Lord have mercy.
Look, me and you, we on the same.
Okay. Listen,
Oprah's got a whole network now. Oprah's doing a whole lot of other stuff. She's not just sitting there doing the show anymore. She's doing a lot of things. But back in the day, Oprah did a show every week that we saw, and people would come on there and talk and stuff like that.
Right.
So the analogy that I made was based on old data.
Right. All I know is Oprah. She a billionaire, so that makes sense. Now in regard to just the Zier, so I know just in parenting styles in general, I know there's no like definitive like framework to how you judge like parent styles. A lot of that is stereotypical in regard to which generation parents which style. It's very like arbitrary at the end of the day. It's variable. So I know from a Zier perspective, there ain't none in this guy, my bad.
I was over here like, no.
But in regard to a Zier perspective, it's a lot. I would say if I had to pick a primary style, it's probably more like permissive. In regard to, it's not, I wouldn't say authoritative, it's permissive, where it's a lot like what you were saying, that the parent really wants to have a friendship to a degree with their child.
Right.
So, and then you got to, I know I bring this up a lot, but a lot of it is greatly influenced by social media too. When you can look and see how someone is parenting their kid, it makes you reluctant to your own style.
Yes.
And then it kind of makes you take tips, which can be a good thing and a bad thing sometimes. I mean, pro and cons to everything in life. But a lot of times they kind of rely on that, and they'll try to actually develop a friendship with their child from what I've seen. Yeah. And in regard to what I was saying, it's arbitrary sometimes. There's some Gen Alphas, because that's the newest generation. There's some Gen Alphas. They're like in kindergarten, first grade, listening to very vulgar music.
Yes.
And that's from a very hands-off approach. That's the best way I can say it, from their parents. So, like I said, a lot of that is variable, but I would say those who are actually interested in being parents in my generation, it's a lot more permissive, but at the same time, they work on developing trust with their child, developing friendships with their children. They just want a very positive environment. So sometimes they'll compromise certain traditional like standards, like parental standards and parental boundaries for a good relationship with their children.
Okay, so this is good stuff.
Yeah,
we're gonna take a break, but when we come back, I want to talk about discipline.
Okay.
Like, let's use the dirty D word. Let's talk about discipline when we come back, and maybe even delve into how you were parented and what you would do differently and why.
Ooh.
All right. See you back in just a few moments.
Catch the wave of success with Standing on Business with Dr. Melissa. Unlock your purpose, align it with your entrepreneurial spirit, and witness your business thrive. This isn't just about authenticity, it's about building a foundation so solid, your business becomes synonymous with profitability. Tune in as we delve into marketing strategies that work and create an empire that stands on business. Because when purpose meets strategy, success is inevitable. Standing on Business with Dr. Melissa, where authenticity meets profitability.
All right, so welcome back to What's the Tea with Gen X, Y, and Z. So before the break, we were delving into the whole parental styles across the generation. And we had to clear up the fact that, Oprah's still here. For some reason, I had said something that made people think she was no longer here. But as we were talking about parental styles, and we were each sharing about our perspectives from a generational sort of context, I wanted us to talk about discipline. And before the break, I said the dirty D word, discipline. And I say that because, I'm a former social worker back years and years ago. And so when you talk about discipline, first of all, I think that there's confusion between discipline and punishment. Yes. Those are two totally different things. Right. So when we're talking about discipline, we're not talking about, jumping with the belt and all that. That might be a little different.
Right.
And we're not here to judge how people parent. So let's just say that.
Yeah.
But discipline from the context of teaching, because both of you talked about a degree of permissiveness.
Yeah.
And wanting to be friends. Yeah. Now, I'm the old chick at the table, so I'm going to talk from the old perspective, and I'm okay if it doesn't match what they said. That's the reason why we have 3 generations, 3 perspectives, 3 and well, one cup of truth, but right now, from my perspective, discipline is a non-negotiable. I understand about wanting to be friends. Like I said, I was probably overly involved with my children and wanted them to come to me for everything. You can talk to me about anything. But my children were also very clear that there were expectations and rules that I wasn't interested in us having a conversation about breaking. So we can talk about whatever. There are things that are negotiable and we can compromise. Then there were those things that were, this is what it is. And it really was some things was because I said so. Like after I have said, this is what we're going to do. And I tried to get you to understand my reasoning behind it, because being an Xer that's trying to get away from the authoritative, it is what I said, and you don't have an opinion. You try to make the case. Yeah. This is the reason why you can't go to little Johnny's house when I don't know them. And I would throw out the statistics and I would talk about all the stuff. And then, 4 of them, 3 boys, 1 girl. So I would get the pushback and it would be like, but why? And I would answer, but why? And I would answer, but why? And I would answer, but why? Because I said so. Because I've given you all, I've given you everything I've got. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I would say to my children, this is what it is. You don't have to agree at this point. I've taken a lot of time trying to get your consensus, your buy-in. I want you to understand. Once we've done all of that, my answer is non-negotiable. Right. And so from that discipline piece, for me, it's important to set a standard. Yeah. Like they are 2 and 4. Yeah. They are, so it's like giving the key. Would you give a key to a 5-year-old because they wanted it? Hey, I want the keys to your car, Mom. Oh, you're 5. Here. Like, you have to set guardrails. Absolutely. Because being permissive, I'm going to say, I understand we want to do this friendship thing, but I'm saying it's dangerous. There are some things they are not mature enough to handle, and so you have to make those decisions for them. That's my thing.
Yeah, and I don't mean to mess up our chronological order.
No, you're good. Go
He's
ahead.
just dying.
I'm so sorry. I just have a comment. I have one comment before I actually start my point. Don't y'all think it's so funny that statistics always get brought up when there's a level of convenience? Because, a kid can get nabbed at the bus stop, right? But I don't see a lot of parents taking their kids to school in a car. That's all I'm going to say. But then if someone want to go to a public skating rink, then it's like, oh, well, I heard something bad happen in the 2 neighborhoods over. So I always kind of found that funny. But going on to my point, yeah, I agree with you. I think, even though, like, for my generation, I know they're really trying to kind of delve into that level of trust and this level of friendship to make their child feel valued as equal to a degree. I don't think, I don't agree with that. I think there still has to be some parental boundaries, because there has to be a level of discipline. And like you said, discipline is not always physical punishment, but it's just if children don't receive like a sufficient level of discipline, they'll grow up not respecting authority figures, which will make them, delinquents. Amen. In modern day society.
That's the other dirty D word.
Yeah. So it's good to want to have a good relationship with your child, but I do believe there has to be a level of discipline where they can grow up and then respect the elderly, respect authority figures, like respect legal figures, because all that stuff is important. And once you're grown, you're grown. You can't hold your parents' hands, so Amen. You got to teach them early.
Yes, that part. And I'm glad you talked about that, because I have 2 little ones.
Yeah. So
me being a parent now versus, of course, you being a parent, you have older children. So I'm just starting out. So it's some approaches that I can't really take with them because they're still at the age where they're understanding and still maneuvering and finding themselves in a way. Right. So for me, with my 2-year-old and my 4-year-old, specifically my 4-year-old, because she's now getting into that age where she's stepping into who she wants to be. Right. Mm-hmm. All of her attributes are coming out, all of who she wants to be. So she's starting to use certain words where she's challenging certain things that I might say. Mm. And you hear often, your children is a representation of you, right? So, I mean, so I always, want her to express herself, however she sees fits, but understanding that I'm her mother.
Right.
And I'm here to guide you and to teach you. So when you're in the real world and you are of age,
right,
you'll understand, ooh, my mama taught me that because this situation that might arise. Right. So, teaching them early is beneficial because when they get to 18, 19, and maybe 15, 16, I started rebelling a little early, but
right. So, no, and I want to even add on to your point a little bit. I love how you was talking about your daughter just starting to question things. Yeah. And I do want to kind of make a point of emphasis that I think it's healthy to question authority, but you still have to acknowledge authority.
But at what age do you start questioning authority? You saying a 4-year-old is okay for her to?
Oh, a 2-year-old will start. That's when they first start.
I mean, because I think that's a good sign because now you're growing as an individual because you don't want like a high level of conformity in your child, especially growing up. Yeah, because you have this level of conformity. All the big innovators, all the big people who made stuff happen. They didn't conform. So
you're right.
It's good that you want to question authority.
Oh. I think that's your favorite word though.
What?
Him and conformity.
I hate
people
conformity.
Not conforming to social standards or what other people say.
But no,
that is his thing.
They are monsters that must be stopped. I will not continue this conversation. 2 and 4.
2 and 4.
Let's be clear. Yeah, we want to express our independence, our individuality and all that. But
to a certain degree.
Yeah, to a certain degree.
So, but let me tell you this. I agree with you that there is a time to really appreciate nonconformity.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. 2 and 4 is not the time. I'm going to tell you why. The decision-making ability is limited. So I need you to conform because I don't have time to have a whole conversation about why you don't need to dart out into the street while we're walking.
No, 100%.
We're not having I don't need to have a whole conversation about why you don't go with that stranger. Like there are certain 100%. Things that we just don't have the time. So for me, y'all, send us an email, y'all. I'm sure you guys have different perspectives. There's probably an Xer going, no, you've got to, I agree with the Y and Zer. That's fine. Because we're not monolithic. So I'm speaking as an Xer, but I'm not speaking for all Xers. Same thing with you guys. There's some Zers going, But I really do feel like, to your point about delinquency and nonconformity and not accepting of authority. Right. And I'm not talking about blindly just going with authority. But what I'm going to say is we're almost so skeptical and so cynical that you got to make a case in order to get agreement. And what I'm saying in life, there are times when we don't have time. Like if I say the house on fire, I'm like, come, let's go. I don't have time for you to say, well, but why? And what? I don't have time for that. So I will say, with these new generations, I do understand the whole thing about compromise and negotiating and helping your kids to, express themselves. And I think there's a time and place.
Yeah.
And I think what you do is, as I go ahead and take this moment and wrap this up from the experience at the table. I mean, we've heard the different perspectives, but this one cup of truth, 32 years in. So I'm going to go ahead and take, I'm going to stare this time.
It's still a learning experience.
It's a learning experience.
Right.
I think what we do is a good rule of thumb with parenting is to give them latitude on those things that you can so that they understand that my parent is not authoritative where they don't let me make any decisions, right? Mm-hmm. Because on those things that are negotiable, you have those compromising moments. Okay, what do you think? Okay, I heard you. Okay, you know what? I think you're right, and I'm going to change my perspective on that so that they understand that you're open to that.
Right.
So that in those moments when you give them that resting face,
right,
the letter,
right,
and it's like, that's what we're not going to do. You don't have a lot of pushback because they understand, oh, she's serious. There's a voice, there's a sound, there's a look, meaning I don't have time for us to have a conversation about this.
Right.
Right. This is serious, and I need you to get with the program right now, and we can talk about it later, but this is what needs to happen. Mm-hmm. That in a larger sense, beyond parenting, even with authority, mm-hmm. the government, laws, there's a time to have a conversation. Mm-hmm. There's a time to push back. Mm-hmm. If you pulled over and a police officer, that's not the time for you to decide that you don't want to conform. That's not the time. Yeah. There's time later on, you comply, and then you can go back later on and you can say, this is what needed to happen. But in that moment, that's not the time. Right. So I would say what we need to do is take an approach of not being so rigid that our children don't know and trust the fact that we are open to their individuality and their independence. Yeah. Take those times when you can do that. But also stand flat-footed and firm in those areas where, my sentence was no is a complete sentence. No. But why? No, period, dot. Right. Or exclamation. But no, not a question mark. No. So, you guys, this was juicy stuff. I think we might have to come back with a part 2 for this.
We definitely do, because I want to.
Oh, because he's like,
he was firing.
I'm ready. I ain't gonna lie. I do want to add on one thing before we
go ahead and add it on.
I'm gonna try to make this brief, y'all.
Yes.
So I want to make a note. I do agree with you, and I do believe there's a right place and right time. I don't think it's as black and white as you do. Like, for example, I think you have to really examine the foundation of which that the child is saying. Like when they challenge authority, when they question things. I do think 4 is a very young age. For example, though, I like the example you was like, no, I shouldn't have to argue with you running out to the street. That's now we're questioning morality and safety. Now let's say, because some parents do, they go spin the block in McDonald's drive-thru talking about they didn't get their burrito and the burrito in the bag, and the 4-year-old go like, well, mommy, the burrito right there. Like that's not right.
So what
that's
we're talking about,
appropriate time. It's not. Yeah.
We're talking about integrity, and we're talking about living what you say. Okay, that's another show.
Mind my business.
That's another show.
Exactly. But that's a good thing, and I think that's worthy of acknowledging.
Yeah. So I would say we're going to pick that up, because I do think a lot of what our children, we have to build that trust, and they have to be able to trust that you are who you said you are, and you said what you said, and you live by it yourself. Right. And there's not 2 different standards, right? But anyway, okay, y'all. So listen, let's keep this conversation brewing. We've got to ask questions. We've got to listen to understand, and we've got to acknowledge the unique challenges that each generation faces. And you guys, we got to look for common ground, because trust me, it's there. So until next time, keep sipping and keep talking, not beating. Okay.
Or sipping on anything imaginary.
Tune in next week, you guys, for another thought-provoking and entertaining conversation that bridges the generational gap, 1 cup at a time. Take care.